So tired, but you know I can't stop now. Came way too far, won't throw in the towel. It ain't looking real good, but I won't give up.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Happy Saturday. Online with Jimmy, a.k.a. The Maverick. Or is it just Jimmy Maverick? I call you The Maverick. What's going on, Jim?
Yeah, I go by Jimmy Maverick, so however you want to introduce me, that's cool.
I'm excited about today's show because we've done, I've done the first round picks, who the optimal plays are in the first round. We did a show on the second round, the optimal plays. If you haven't listened to them, go check it out. Previous videos, as of I did about a week ago. Today we're talking about third round studs and duds, the optimal players to draft in the third round, and guys you may want to avoid. Full-on discussion, and we're opening up, guys, the 16-round plus draft tool as we're going through this, laying it all out in front of you. So you're sitting there in the third round. What do you do? Who do you draft? Who do you trust to draft? Who do you avoid? Jim, everything is laid out for you guys here today in round three. I'm excited to dive in, man, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's always interesting to get to this area because they're always, this is where questions start to slip in about players where you're not quite as solid. Things start to thin out a little bit, and you've got to nail these picks because if you don't, it can really handicap your team. So, we're still dealing with big names. Every pick is a big name, and some are good and some are not.
All right, so I'm going to pull it up here, Jim. We're going to pull up the 16-round plus tool to get this, guys. TheFantasyFootballCounselor.com under programs. It's called the 16-round plus. Now, some people say, Joe, I've already got the solution, or I want to just get the solution. That's fine. These are both standalone. This is for people that just want more. The solution will solve all your problems, but this is if you want to deep dive into some statistics, some more information, have everything laid out in front of you. Click on particular player's name, dive into some stats. Everything is laid out for you guys right here. So this is called the 16-round plus. Again, it is separate from the 16-round draft solution. All right, Jim, let's dive into this. Round three, we're going to tell you who we like in round three, but we're going to dive into some optimal players in round three. So, Jim, I'm looking at the 16-round plus tool. The algorithm, the details is all based on a Cuddy score. So consistency, upside, durability, depth, and youth. Do you want to dive into a little bit more on the Cuddy score and why Chris Olave, for example, let's use him as an example, why he's number one as one of the top options here in the third round?
Yeah, well, we've discussed Chris Olave in the past, and we discussed like how he is being undervalued by the fantasy consensus. They're basically just projecting that he's going to do what he did last year, even though he is now in his second season. He has gotten a quarterback upgrade. He is on what should be a pretty good offense that has a great schedule. My God, they have a fantastic schedule in New Orleans this year. And so we're projecting a breakout. So we're saying this guy, and don't forget, Chris Olave did about what Garrett Wilson did. Everybody loves to talk about Garrett Wilson. Right. I love Garrett Wilson too. But Garrett Wilson's going 10 picks earlier than Chris Olave. And so this is a guy that's creeping into the third round. And man, according to Cuddy, this is the guy you should get. If he's available in your third round, you absolutely want to take this guy because he is scoring outstanding on the Cuddy system. Fantastic upside, good value, great durability, great consistency. This is exactly the kind of player that you want to get in the third round for sure.
So it's an overall score out of 100, and he scores really high here. So, yeah, I mean, if you got the youth, definitely. He looked good in his rookie year. He's getting an upgrade at quarterback. He is a wide receiver one on his team. All signs pointing to an upside type year. Now, again, I want to emphasize this, and I really want to kind of drive this point home. Who you draft in each particular round is really predicated on your team. So if you went, for example, if you went wide receiver, round 1 and 2, you probably don't want Chris Olave. You want to try to look for a running back or something, or even a quarterback for that matter. You want to balance your team out and make sure you optimize your roster. And I like to get a running back round 1, maybe even round 2, and then look at a wide receiver round 3. And if that's the case, you want to take a look at a guy like Chris Olave. Now, also, I do think this is the year, Jim, we've talked about this, the year where you want to anchor with an ace quarterback. Now, there is Herbert and Lawrence, who I like in a couple rounds later, but I wouldn't be, scared to maybe even go Allen here because why is it uncertain? Because we got rookie quarterbacks coming in. We got players on the move with Aaron Rodgers on a new team. We got Russell Wilson. Is he going to bounce back? We got so many question marks around the quarterbacks, CJ Stroud and Young and Richardson on the Colts. So many question marks that you don't want to gamble with your quarterback. You want to take it easy. And as you can see here, Jim, we've got Allen scored really high here in the third round as a great option here.
Yeah, absolutely. And why would you not? I mean, Josh Allen, he's going to get you, probably 800 yards on the ground, 30 passing touchdowns, probably another 8 to 10 rushing touchdowns. The dude has been absolutely prolific since he broke out in 2020, I think is when he finally broke out.
Right.
Absolutely the number one quarterback out there right now, if you want to spend an early draft pick on it. And there's, here's the thing, right? Let's say you start out and let's say you get the number one pick. And according to what we've been saying, you take Bijan number one.
So
and then it circles back to you at pick 24 and you grab Chris Olave as your wide receiver one and Josh Allen as your QB one. You have got a rocking start to your draft. I mean, that is devastatingly good. And so that is certainly a strategy that you can take. I mean, you could also go Chris Olave in your second pick, and then you take Najee with your third pick, because he's going right at around the 2-3 turn. And so, that is also an outstanding way to start your draft. I'd be super happy with either of those builds.
All right, Jim. So you and I are in the third round. Now I'm like 90% going to running back, a Jonathan Taylor, a Bijan. And then round two, I'm looking at, who's available. Maybe a Garrett Wilson. Like, let's just take a look at round two. We talked about it last episode when you and I broke this down. Amon-Ra as an option, Garrett Wilson, CeeDee Lamb, all these great options. So let's say I went Bijan. I went Amon-Ra here. Here's a tip here. Try to see, based on your draft, maybe Josh Allen falls. Maybe he falls. Maybe he goes to round 4. I'm pulling it up here, guys, on the screen. So I didn't have it on the screen there. So, yeah, I mean, maybe Josh Allen falls to round 3. Round 4. Then maybe I'll go Olave here. So I went Bijan, went Najee. I might go Olave, and hopefully Allen falls to 4. If Allen falls to 4, that's a great bargain, right, Jim? I would think.
Yeah, I mean, if he does. Now, right now, he's going right around the middle of round 3. So his chances of falling to 4 are pretty slim. I have not encountered that in any of my drafts yet. He is usually gone by about pick 32, which would be, that's like the 8th pick in the third round. So I'm not sure he would do that unless you're in like a 10-team league. In a 10-team league, he could definitely be a 4th round pick for sure.
Okay. So, also with this app, I want you to notice that there is key indicators beside all these guys. So, for example, Kenneth Walker has a warning sign that there's a possible downwards trend with him. Why? Because they drafted Zach Charbonnet round 2. Mark Andrews had a bit of a down year last year, maybe a bounce back year. T. Higgins here. T. Higgins here. Can't even talk today. T. Higgins here is actually, you see the money sign in for a contract year. So there's a little bit of upside there. Not our first choice, because again, I look at it as aiming high on the depth chart. I don't like to get a wide receiver 2 when I get a potential wide receiver 1 with Olave there. So a couple of guys here with lower on the Cuddy score, not the guys that I would personally be looking at in round 3, but are available. If you guys want them, you guys go for it. But again, we kind of rate it. We do actually rate on guys we like more, and then the guys that we don't like are at the bottom of this list.
Yeah, so like Mark Andrews and T. Higgins, they come in as risky picks. That's why they got that yellow diamond around their Cuddy score. It's because there's risk. There's risks associated with that. Is Mark Andrews going to get the same target volume that he has gotten in prior years now that they've beefed up their receiving core? Is he going to be able to achieve the kind of volume he's gotten in the past? T. Higgins is extraordinarily inconsistent. That's one of his biggest issues. And so that really holds down his score significantly and, makes them like, if you want to take the risk, you can. This is when you need to take them. But frankly, there's better options. There's better options higher up on the list, guys that scored more on the Cuddy. But there are 3 guys that just absolutely hate in the third round, just terrible choices. And Aaron Jones, he scores 0. That's right. He scores a big fat 0 Cuddy points.
Why is that? Why is
Well,
that? I know
let's
that.
look at his situation, man. I mean, he loses his Hall of Fame quarterback that he's been with his entire career. The dude is 29, or actually he's 28 now, but he's turning 29 during the course of the season. You've got a rising AJ Dillon there. You know, I'm not sure that how good this Green Bay offense is going to be with Jordan Love. I'm not sold on Jordan Love. I don't think he's very good. There's a whole bunch of downside risk associated with Aaron Jones. And of course, I just looked this up. The Conchipsis, they are thinking, oh, it's green lights all the way with Aaron Jones. He's going to do just as good as he did with Aaron Rodgers. He's going to get just as many receptions. Well, almost. He'll get a little less. He'll get a little bit less. But, you know, he'll score about maybe 20 fewer fantasy points than he did last year, despite the fact of all these problems. Man, this is a cut and paste garbage disservice that they're doing to you. We're being more realistic with what his outlook actually looks like here. Bad value, bad upside. He's a durable player. That's good. Mediocre consistency in the 5-6 range, right in the middle, but not a player you want to take with your third pick. He is not a good choice.
What's crazy is I'm looking at the Conchipsis ranking, sitting 14th amongst running backs in PPR, 1-point PPR. We are currently showing you half-point PPR. But, yeah, I had guys like Kenneth Walker, Jahmyr Gibbs, whatever, Dameon Pierce. I had guys like I'm not a fan of Cam Akers as much, but even I had guys like Cam Akers, Dalvin Cook, Pacheco. I had all these guys. And again, right. I'm not sold at all. I'm not going to be buying any stock here or there, Jones, at all. Zero, zilch, nada.
Yeah, you don't want to be holding the bag on these older running backs, man. Don't hold the bag on these guys. The chances of a big decline, and when it comes to running backs, they fall off a cliff, man. They do not gradually decline over the course of several seasons. No, it is a sudden and dramatic decline below 4 yards per carry. They can't punch in, they can't punch in the touchdowns anymore. Again, quarterback change here at this age. Can he maintain that? I mean, I don't think he can. I don't think it's going to happen. He's, for me, he's the worst choice in the third round that you could pick. So that's where I'm at right now.
So we got to play the Conchipsis song for Aaron Jones here. If you draft Aaron Jones,
that's right. Those Conchipsis, he's going to be perfectly fine, people. He's going to do exactly what he did in previous years. None of this matters. He'll just do what he's always done.
Jim, are you starting to like this song?
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Conchipsis. I love the bat at the end. So yeah, that is a Conchipsis pick. We don't want any part of it. Jim and I are done with that. So Joe Mixon, he's down at the bottom of the barrel here on this list as well. I'll pull up the list here again for you guys. A guy like Joe Mixon here at the bottom. Again, older running back. I mean, the offense is exciting. They drafted a rookie. Again, Joe Mixon, he had some off-field issues. I don't know. He doesn't excite me. He's been in the league. I don't see the ceiling. I'm not excited. We've seen the best of him. I'm not going to be running out grabbing Joe Mixon. I'm not feeling warm and fuzzy. Do you like Joe Mixon?
No, not at all. And I'm watching people on YouTube talking themselves into going for Joe Mixon, right? How could he be bad with this offense that he's on? And I'll tell you how he can be bad, because he was terrible last year. He was wretched. 3.5 yards per carry. He only was able to score 5 touchdowns the whole season, except for that one crazy gonzo game that he had where he scored 5 touchdowns on. But the whole rest of the year, 5 touchdowns. 4 rushing touchdowns is all he got during that time span of the other 16 weeks of the season. The dude is done. He is baked. And everyone's like, well, they didn't get a replacement. And well, they did draft Chase Brown. I believe that's his name. Yeah. But yeah, Joe Mixon is just going to be an extremely ineffective player. And the only way he pays off is if he gets massive, massive quantities of volume. I don't see it happening. I think they're just going to go to the air more. That's why I love Jamar Chase so much. That's why T. Higgins is a better choice, than Joe Mixon. But, again, I don't want any part of this. I don't want some guy's been in the league for 7 years to trust him to bring my team to the championship, because it's not going to happen. He's not going to be able to do it. There's no bounce back at this age.
I looked at some video of Chase Brown. He looks good. Like, he doesn't look amazing. He doesn't jump out at me on tape. Like, when I look at a Jahmyr Gibbs, boom, jumps out at me. Explosive, awesome playmaker. Brown looks okay, so I'm not concerned of him stealing the job, but I still see him getting his share of safe workload, maybe some goal line work. I'm not sold on Mixon at all. Again, he could have a good season, good offense, but that's the problem. Some people just go for the better offense, the worst player, when you got a guy like, I think, Dameon Pierce, who I think is, worse offense, obviously, but a much better player, young, hungry, more upside, possibly more volume. So I know Singletary's there and all that. So again, going back to this list though, Jim, so just to wrap it up, who are you, aside from the obvious, I know these guys are on top, who are you really like gravitating towards? Like, you got 3 quarterbacks. Are you going in a 1 quarterback league? Are you inclined to maybe take a quarterback here? Who are you grabbing here? What are you round 1 and 2? What are you doing? And round 3, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I have been typically getting like an ace wide receiver in the first round. I've taken Bijan in a couple. Bijan's like the only guy I'm really interested in the first round as far as running backs go. But if I'm picking late, I've gone CeeDee Lamb. I really like CeeDee Lamb. I really like Amon-Ra, although he's more of a second round player. Second round, I've grabbed Chubb in a couple of leagues, and so I've kind of been going wide receiver, running back, and then maybe I go back to wide receiver. And then I look at running backs in the 4th and 5th round, because there's some good options there, like Pierce and Cam Akers, who I very much like. But I did end up taking Hurts in one of my leagues in the 3rd round. He fell to me I was like at pick 30. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll grab him here. And I kind of regret it. I think I kind of lost out a little bit on, what could have been a really good wide receiver or running back there. But I'm okay with it. I think he'll be fine, so we'll just have to see how it turns out. But it is hard to take a quarterback this early, because you are bypassing some extremely good talent by doing that. So you got to take the good with the bad.
And I want to note here, we see Jalen Waddle popping out here in round 3, Pat Mahomes, Amari Cooper, Kenneth Walker, again, they all have question marks here. Like, Jalen Waddle is a wide receiver too, but now there's an off-field issue here going on with Tyreek Hill on a possible assault charge, apparently allegedly slapping, what was it? A guy at a marina in the back.
Dock worker or something like it as marina or something.
Employee, yeah. Apparently there's a video on it, hasn't been released yet, which should give us more information. So there could be a possible suspension there. That should inflate Waddle a little bit in round 3. But as of right now, I have questions around Waddle and Tyreek Hill, with the suspension with Tyreek Hill, and also with Waddle being the wide receiver 2 there. And then also with Tua, are we sold that he's going to finish a year, or is the concussion going to play a factor? He goes down, and he goes down hard, and he could miss time, especially because they know now they're probably playing it light with him, knowing his circumstances. So I got some question marks around those receivers, but Waddle should be a safe guy, but always aim high on the depth chart. So Olave seems more attractive to me than a Waddle. So start using common sense, guys. Always aim high on the depth chart. Try to avoid wide receivers 2 when possible. And again, aim high on that depth chart. That's what I'm going to tell you.
And Amari Cooper is another guy in the 3rd round who I'm okay with taking over Waddle. I mean, they're very close in their Cuddy score, and all things being even, take the 1 is usually what you should do. But as far as Tyreek goes, I'm not real concerned about anything happening to Tyreek this season. Any sort of suspension, it would happen after a trial. That's going to happen after the NFL season. So anything that might happen to Tyreek would probably happen in 2024. So you don't really have to worry about it for this year. I don't think it's going to be anything big anyway. But you're right, it is a distraction. So that's a shame. But as far as Tua goes, I think Tua is a very high risk, high reward player, because he has played at a very high level on this team. It's an explosive offense. It's exciting, and if he can stay healthy, he'll definitely provide some nice value, because he's going in like the 11th round of most drafts. That's a great option. If you're looking for a QB2 with some upside, I think Tua might be a good choice for that. I kind of like it. I don't know how you feel about it. I know how high risk he is for missing time with concussions, but it is a contract year. So, he needs to show that he can be an NFL quarterback. And if he can do it, he's going to get a big payday. So,
all right, I'm putting you on the spot here. Drum roll. Who's your favorite pick?
You know what? You went out. All I could hear was the drum. So what was your question?
Oh, okay, there's a drum. Okay, I guess overshadowed by voice. The question is, who would you pick? Not round number 3. I'm putting you to the wall here.
Oh God, Chris Olave. No question. If he's available, you take him. Take Chris Olave in the 3rd round.
Olave, there it is. I like Olave as well. Again, it depends on what I do round 1 and 2. If I go a Garrett Wilson or a Mono round 2, I'm definitely not going Olave. I got to take a look. I may reach and get a running back. Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs falls to round 3. If that's the case, I might do that. So again, it depends on what happens. So where's Gibbs now coming? Around 3 or 4 usually? I think
he's probably 4. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I've seen him come off as early as 3 in mock drafts though. So I mean, we don't know. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Again, Gibbs, you've got the issue of Montgomery there, and I don't know, man. He's explosive. He could be the man. I'm excited about Gibbs. So
yeah.
I'm excited about fantasy in general. There's so much going on, so many question marks, but I'm excited to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I'm excited for training camp to start. So that can't start soon enough. But yeah, like I said, the one thing I like about the app is that it's sorting in each round. It's sorting the players according to their Cuddy score. So the best scoring players are at the top of the list. So it's easy to find the right players, and you just avoid those players at the bottom of the list because they're problematic. We just talked about the problems that players like Aaron Jones and Joe Mixon have, and why they don't score well on the system. And why you should stay away from them. It's all laid out there, very easy, and you can use this in a live draft. You can just use this. You just go round to round. And you pick your favorite players off the top of the list. And then when you're done making your pick, you go to the next round and you see who's available for that round.
All right, final sneak peek, guys, at round 3 here. You got to look at the optimal players. So we said we showed it to you. Olave, Allen, Waddle, Mahomes, Cooper, Hurts. Walker, I'm not too crazy on. He's got a decent score. Obviously, Save a Charbonnet might be a thorn. Andrews, Higgins, Mixon, Devontae Smith, and Aaron Jones. These are the guys that are typically come off in round 3, and here they are organized in this order, okay? With some recommendations here. All right, Jim, that's really it, man. I mean, I don't know what else to say about round 3. We got it pretty much covered, hammered out. Feel free, if you feel like a player in round 4 and you want to reach and you're confident, go for it. You don't maybe Olave's gone. You feel like you want to reach. If you like the guy, go for it. All that's laid out in the 16-round draft solution as well. Jim, thanks for coming on, man. Get the 16-round plus tool.
Yeah, absolutely. And, if anyone has any questions, my email is contact@16roundsplus.com. And so, if you got any questions about the app or anything, you can let me know there.
All right, and drop some questions below as well. Thanks, Jim. We are out, guys. Have yourself a great Saturday. Talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Counselor.